Athens 399 BC. An old man lifts a cup of poison to his lips. His friends are weeping. His students beg him to escape. The guards have been bribed. The door is open. Freedom is just a few steps away. And yet, he drinks. Why would anyone choose death? Socrates was 70 years old. He had survived wars, plagues, and political upheavals. He had outsmarted every opponent in debate. He was the most brilliant mind in the ancient world. And now, with escape handed to him on a silver platter, he chose death instead. This wasn't suicide. This wasn't surrender. This was something far more disturbing. As Plato would later write, the unexamined life is not worth living. But what if examining life meant accepting death? What Socrates understood in his final hours is something most people spend their entire lives running from. The gadfly of Athens. Socrates called himself a gadfly. You know what a gadfly does? It bites, it irritates, it won't leave you alone. For 40 years, Socrates walked through the streets of Athens asking questions. Simple questions, dangerous questions. He would approach the most powerful politicians and ask them, "What is justice?" They would answer confidently. Then he would ask another question, and another, until they realized they had no idea what they were talking about. Imagine someone exposing every lie you tell yourself. That was Socrates. He didn't teach people what to think. He showed them they didn't think at all. The craftsmen claimed to be wise because they knew their trade. Socrates proved they knew nothing beyond their hammers. The poets claimed divine inspiration. Socrates revealed they couldn't explain their own words. The politicians claimed to know what was best for Athens. Socrates demonstrated they were making it up as they went. I know that I know nothing. This wasn't humility. This was a weapon. Because if Socrates knew nothing, then the people who claimed certainty knew even less. And powerful people don't like being exposed as fools. But his questions would eventually catch up to him. Dangerous students. Here's what they don't tell you in philosophy class. Socrates trained some of the most dangerous men in Athenian history. Alcibiades, handsome, brilliant, charismatic. He betrayed Athens to Sparta, then betrayed Sparta to Persia, then tried to come back to Athens. He nearly destroyed the city he claimed to love. Critias, one of the 30 tyrants who overthrew Athenian democracy. His regime executed 500 citizens without trial. Both were Socrates' students. The Athenians didn't forget this. When democracy was restored, people whispered, "Who taught these monsters to question everything? Who gave them the arrogance to think they knew better than tradition? Who planted the seeds of their treachery?" Every dictator, every traitor, every radical who had torn Athens apart had sat at Socrates' feet. It didn't matter that Socrates himself had never taken political power. It didn't matter that he had risked his life defending democracy. In the public mind, he was guilty by association. The man who taught people to question authority had trained men who destroyed it. And Athens was about to make him pay for their sins. But the charges against him would reveal something even darker. The trial. The official charges were almost laughable: corrupting the youth, introducing new gods, not believing in the gods of the city. Absurd. Everyone knew these were pretexts. The real crime was making powerful people look stupid. But Socrates didn't hire a speechwriter like everyone else did. He didn't beg for mercy. He didn't bring his crying children to court for sympathy. Instead, he gave a speech that would echo through history. He told the jury of 501 citizens that he was doing Athens a favor, that they should reward him with free meals for life, the honor given to Olympic champions. Can you imagine? A man on trial for his life, telling his judges they should be thanking him. "Men of Athens, I honor and love you, but I shall obey God rather than you." The jury was not amused. They voted guilty by a margin of only 60 votes. Close, so close. Then Socrates sealed his fate. When asked to propose his own punishment, he suggested that fine or maybe those free meals. The jury, insulted, voted for death, by a larger margin than the guilty verdict. His own arrogance had killed him, or had it. The escape plan. Here's where it gets strange. Socrates didn't have to die. His wealthy friend Crito came to him in prison with everything arranged. The guards had been bribed. A ship was waiting. He could live out his days in Thessaly, surrounded by friends and admirers. Freedom was right there. Crito begged him, think of your children who will grow up without a father. Think of your friends who will be accused of not saving you. Think of your legacy which will be tarnished by a death that looks like surrender. Socrates listened patiently. Then he asked a question, just one question. Should we care about the opinion of the many, or only the opinion of the wise? Crito knew where this was going. Socrates had spent his entire life arguing that popular opinion was worthless, that only truth mattered, that a person should never do wrong, even if everyone said it was right. If he escaped now, if he broke the laws of Athens just to save his own skin, what would that make him? A hypocrite. Everything he had taught would become a lie. And for Socrates, living as a hypocrite was worse than dying as a philosopher. But there was something deeper going on in his mind. The social contract. Socrates made an argument in prison that philosophers still debate today. He imagined the laws of Athens speaking to him directly. The laws said, we gave you everything. We married your parents. We educated you. We protected you. For 70 years you benefited from living under our protection. You could have left any time. You chose to stay. By staying, you agreed to our terms. This is the social contract. Not a document you sign, but an agreement you make by participating in society. Every time you walk down a public road, use public courts, expect public protection. You're agreeing to accept the system's authority, even when it's wrong, even when it condemns you to death. Do you imagine that a city can continue to exist if the legal judgments which are pronounced in it are rendered worthless? If Socrates escaped, he would be telling everyone, laws only matter when they benefit me. Obey when convenient, flee when not. And if everyone thought that way, Athens would collapse. Every escaped criminal would claim they were following Socrates' example. The philosopher who corrupted the youth would corrupt the entire city. His death would prove his innocence. His escape would prove his guilt. This was his logic. But was there something he feared even more than death? Death or dishonor? What would escape actually look like? Socrates painted the picture for Crito. He would arrive in Thessaly as a fugitive. People would whisper, there goes the man who loved life more than his principles. Every conversation would be tainted. Every teaching would be questioned, from wise teacher to desperate fugitive. His friends would be forced to defend him. No, he's not a coward. He just wanted to keep teaching. But what could he teach? That truth matters more than opinion except when your life is at stake. That virtue is its own reward except when vice offers survival. That the good man cannot be harmed except by execution. Everything he believed would be exposed as empty words. A good man cannot be harmed in life or in death. This was his deepest conviction. The body can be killed, but the soul cannot be touched by external events, only by our own moral failures. By escaping, Socrates would harm himself in the only way that truly mattered. He would betray who he was. Death preserves honor, escape destroys it. But there's another layer to this story that most people miss entirely. The inner voice. Socrates claimed to have a daemonion, a divine sign, an inner voice that spoke to him since childhood. It never told him what to do. It only told him what not to do. When he was about to make a mistake, the voice would stop him. A warning signal from beyond. Throughout the trial, throughout the imprisonment, throughout the discussions of escape, the voice was silent, complete silence. The customary sign would surely have opposed me if I had been going to do anything evil. Socrates interpreted this silence as approval. Whatever he was doing, it wasn't wrong. The voice that had guided him his entire life was not objecting to his death. Think about what this means. Either Socrates was delusional, hearing voices that didn't exist, or he had access to wisdom beyond ordinary human reasoning. Either way, he trusted it completely. The voice had never been wrong before. Why would it fail him now? When we face our biggest decisions, most of us are filled with doubt. Socrates faced death with perfect peace. The silence of his inner voice was louder than any argument his friends could make. But perhaps the most powerful reason was simpler than philosophy: the philosopher's death. Socrates had spent decades arguing that philosophy was preparation for death. Not morbid, not depressing, just logical. The philosopher tries to separate the soul from the body, to think clearly without being distracted by physical desires. Hunger, thirst, lust, fear, these are the body's concerns. The mind trapped, then freed. What is death but the final separation? The soul finally free from the body's endless demands. True philosophers practice dying, and to them, death is the least terrible thing in the world. If you've spent your whole life trying to transcend the physical, why would you cling to it at the end? Every argument for escape was an argument for the body. Save your flesh. Avoid pain. Keep breathing. Socrates didn't care about breathing. He cared about being right, about being consistent, about proving that his philosophy wasn't just words. Anyone can claim to be unafraid of death. Only a true philosopher can prove it. Hemlock was his final examination, and he intended to pass, but the way he died, that's what truly shocked everyone present. The final hours, the day of execution. Socrates' friends gathered in his cell. They expected grief. They found a man at peace. He spent his final hours doing exactly what he'd done his whole life, talking, asking questions, exploring ideas, as if death was just another topic for discussion. They talked about the immortality of the soul, about what might come after, about whether philosophy itself was proof that something eternal lived within us. His wife Xanthip was there, crying. He asked her to be taken home, not cruelly, just practically. Her grief was disrupting the conversation. The jailer brought the cup of hemlock. His hands were shaking. He had executed many men, none like this. You are the noblest, gentlest, and best man that ever came here. Socrates took the cup and drank without hesitation. No trembling, no prayers, no bargaining. His friends finally broke down, grown men sobbing. Socrates scolded them gently. What was this shameful noise? He had sent the women away specifically to avoid such scenes. He walked around until his legs grew heavy. Then he lay down. The poison crept upward, cold spreading through his body, but his mind remained clear until the very end. His final words would puzzle philosophers for millennia. The last words. As the hemlock reached his heart, Socrates uncovered his face and spoke his final words. Credo, we owe a rooster to Asclepius. Pay it and do not neglect it. Then he died. His friends were baffled. Asclepius was the god of healing. You sacrificed a rooster to him when you recovered from an illness. Recovered? What was Socrates recovering from? Some say he meant life itself was the disease. Death was the cure. The body, with all its pains, desires, and distractions, was finally being healed by being left behind. Others say it was a joke. Socrates' final ironic jab at the absurdity of his conviction for religious crimes. Still others say it was simply a debt he remembered at the last moment. We'll never know for certain, but here's what we do know. Socrates chose his death. He designed it. He used it to prove everything he had ever taught, that the soul matters more than the body, that truth matters more than survival, that person who knows themselves cannot be destroyed. The men who killed him thought they were ending a nuisance. Instead, they created an immortal. His death became the most powerful argument for his philosophy. 2,400 years later, we're still talking about it. Socrates could have escaped. He chose not to, not because he wanted to die, but because he understood something most of us spend our lives avoiding. How you die reveals how you lived. Every compromise, every moment of hypocrisy, every time we say one thing and do another, it all catches up to us. Socrates had no gap between his words and his actions. When the ultimate test came, he passed. What about you? What would you choose if your principles demanded your life? Most of us never face that question so directly, but we face smaller versions every day. Do you speak truth when it costs you? Do you stand by your beliefs when they are unpopular? Do you live like you actually believe what you claim to believe? The hour of departure has arrived, and we go our ways, I to die and you to live. Which is better? Only God knows. Socrates didn't know what came after death. Neither do we. But he knew what mattered before it, living in truth, dying without regret, becoming someone worth remembering. Immortal. The truth is never comfortable. but it's always worth knowing. History has more to teach us. Subscribe if you want to learn.